Hi, this is just a short video, heads up on some books on Diocletian. The one you see on screen is the best one I've been reading so far. I'm reading more because I want to make sure that what I told you is reasonably accurate. And I've given you lots of links in the chronochart section for syllables 283, etc. on Diocletian in the Ephesians 1 Reparsed Doc, which will be in the video description. But this particular book is so well written, I wanted to make a separate video on it. It's Diocletian and the Roman Recovery by Stephen Williams. The guy himself is not considered to be a Roman historian. He's considered to be a philosopher. But he has a really good grasp of the events. So he obviously synthesized what he learned. And of course, some of the scholars that have reviewed his book, they don't like it because he doesn't follow the scholarly example of, pontificating. He tries to write it like a novel, kind of between a scholastic treatise and a novel, which is a really good style to use. So I would really recommend you get this book. I'm going to buy it myself. It's $34 at Barnes & Noble. And as you can see here at Amazon, it's only slightly cheaper. But if you're in Prime, the shipping is free, so that could make a difference. I love Prime on Amazon. It allows you to watch all kinds of videos too. But anyway, do get this book if you're interested. The thing that's so sterling about this guy versus the other books on the subject is he seems to have a firmer grasp of the megatrends that created the situation Diocletian was in. He has a very good grasp of the economics and the people migrations that contributed to the problem. And as you see highlighted here, 3rd century collapse. It's also called Crisis of the 3rd Century. I spent a lot of time on that when talking about the post-Commodus fallout in my videos in 11 GGS, that Paul's diagramming future church history, syllable by syllable. Actually, it's really astonishing. And this guy really fills in the blanks so that when you read Paul's words for the syllables equal years, it will make a whole lot more sense what Paul means when you read this. I mean, Paul's basically doing what Aristophanes did and the other Greek classical playwrights. He writes text or says something which is about A, but underneath the A is a political commentary about the time. That's what the Greek playwrights did, and Paul's whole book of Ephesians is loosely based on Ion by Euripides, which of course scholars never tell you because that's supposed to be shameful if it's based on something pagan. Yeah, but then you miss what Paul's saying about church if you don't understand that. So that's why I'm making all these videos. Get this book if you're interested in the period of what led up to Diocletian. In this book, he starts with the rise of Marcus Aurelius, just after Antoninus Pius died. So he starts with the Antonines, and then he leads up to Diocletian, then he goes past Diocletian. I'm not quite sure how far past because until I buy the book, I can only read so many pages. As you can see, this is in Google Books. This will be linked in the video description. And then the other major thing that I found that I really like is an 1876 book, which I mentioned in the chronochart, but I'll put the link in the video description too. That 1876 book is downloadable for free. And it's the closest thing in style in an attempt to synthesize the information, that I've found. In other words, Gibbon is Gibbon, Mommsen didn't write about the empire. Gibbon, Mommsen, Carey, those are the guys. Carey's really good. Those are the guys that, are pretty much the standard encyclopedic references, and there's Otto Seek and a bunch of others. Who are regarded as, major, people to read on this period. And, of course, in our modern day, it's T.D. Barnes. But the trouble with those other guys is that they get too tied up with they get too pedantic, all right? Gibbon mixes analysis that's really important and good with his excessive quoting of detail, which in the style of, 1776 when he wrote the book, was necessary because everybody read Latin and Greek in those days. So he needed to furnish proof of what he was saying. But for us moderns, where, Greek and Latin aren't taught in high school anymore, we're sort of we're clueless about this. So you want to start with this guy Williams, and you want to start with that 1876 book in the video description in order to get your feet wet on the overview. And then you can get into Gibbon and Mommsen and Barnes and, the other scholars in the field to get more detail, in the debate. There's a lot of debate that's going on over this period. And I even had to deal with it in my Ephesians 1 reparsed in Appendix 2, because there's debate about what Diocletian was, what he did, and especially when he died, which is critical to the story that Paul's telling in Ephesians 1, 3 through 14, especially verses 10 and 11. Anyway, so just get this book if you're interested in the material. If you've got any questions, let me know. If you see anything that contradicts what I'm saying, I want to hear about it. All I've got, I say these things, and I'm pretty sure that what I'm telling you is right. I'm trying to be truthful, but it's really hard for me to put a check on myself. So if you see anything that contradicts or you want to argue about it, please do. But please do your homework. Okay? Give me substance and citations if you're willing. Anyway, thanks a lot. Signing off. Wait, I got to add this. Okay, this is still the book. This is still the book by Stephen Williams, okay? All right, let me move it up so you can see it. Diocletian, the Roman Recovery. He's still in chapter 1. Now I'm only on page 18. And in the upper window is the Ephesians 1 reparse that you've seen me do in the Ephesians videos. 11 GGS. This is exactly, okay, what he's, here, I'm too excited. I should calm down. Focus on this sentence here. The near suicidal pattern had become permanent. It was no longer just a case of brief civil war followed by consolidation under a new dynasty, as had happened after Nero, for example. Imperial authority and effective central power were now so weak, so overwhelmed by multiple crises, and utterly dependent on the volatile moods of the armies, that this had become impossible. Some imperial candidates were indeed reluctant, but rather than murder by their unruly troops or execution by a suspicious emperor, they had no choice but to take the hazard of civil war. Okay? That's exactly what was happening to church during these same years, 238 to 252. Okay, which are the syllables in Paul, okay? That's Ephesians 1:10 that you've seen me go through already. And look at the key words Paul's using. Again, this is like an Aristophanes play. Here, I'll stop using the black. Oikonomia is state management. Is that clever or what? Pleiromatos, pregnant with cargo, on the verge of content delivery. Remember, pleroma etymologically means the content of a ship or a woman. That's its etymological origin, which you can only find in brave lexicons like Thayer. I'm not sure if Kittle even has that. All right, I learned it from my pastor, but I found it later in Thayer. Okay, and then Chiron, the times, meaning time itself. All time. This is a pivotal period in history. And it's the time of Irenaeus, Tertullian, and Origen, who are considered the three big heavy hitters who caused the church to occur. And that's the opinion of ccel.org at Calvin College, not my opinion. All right? But obviously, Paul is focusing on that very period. Okay? That's a 252, which is highlighted with 14. That's verse 110a. Ephesians 1:10a. Okay? With a view to the estate management of the pregnancy of time itself. Is, kind of loose translation of what Paul's saying. And I covered that already, a couple of episodes back. I want to say it was in the earlier part of 11t, 11t and 11, the latter part of 11r. Okay? And then, of course, this is the physical history, the Roman history that's occurring. But Paul's whole point is that secular history mirrors what happens to the believer. My pastor taught that this way. He said, as goes the believer, so goes human history. My pastor did not know this meter, but he did know and did teach for 7 whopping years, using the book of Ephesians to do it every day. He taught this doctrine from started it in 1985, and he ended it in 1992. And then he did a sequel to that called the Spiritual Dynamics. Okay? Now, remember, these underlines here are extra links you can look at. This is the Ephesians 1 reparsed doc. Okay? This is about Decius. Okay, but our boy here, Mr. Williams, Mr. or Doctor, I don't know which, he covers the preamble to Diocletian, so you can see what led up to him. And that's, of course, what I've been doing in my videos. I've just now finished the Diocletian section, and I'm going through the internet to see if I screwed up somewhere in what I told you. All right? So far, I'm not finding any major errors. I found some minor things I didn't stress properly, and I have edited Ephesians 1 reparsed doc, and it's now, June 1st. So if you've downloaded it already, you'll have to download it again. I made some editing changes, minor, very minor, in the Decius through Diocletian and Constantinian periods. Signing off.